Shalom and welcome to a special Tu B'Shvat edition of Torah for this week. And the title is going to be The Path of the Tree of Life, and with a particular emphasis of the flame of the sword that turns. Right? I know that's not the most harmonic title in the world. Right? It can be it's kind of choppy and everything, but the bottom line is we're sitting here on Tu B'Shvat. And Tu B'Shvat, as we all know, is the rebirth of trees in Israel. It's one of the 5 Jewish New Years. You're going to tell me it's 4. It's not. It's 5. There's a Mishnah, I think, in Rosh Hashanah, if I'm not mistaken. It says there are 4 Jewish New Years, not just the traditional Rosh Hashanah. And there's another example in the Torah tradition that says there's a 5th. All right, let's see if we can name them, yeah? So we have Rosh Hashanah that we know. That's 1. Tu B'Shvat's 2. Rosh Chodesh Elul is 3. What's the other one? Rosh Chodesh Nisan is 4. Right? And the other one is Shavuos. The holiday of Shavuot is the Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Hashanah meaning the new year of bringing fresh crops to the temple. So the new year in years, Kings, Nisan, trees now. Elul is crops that you bring for like produce, right? And then the crops of Shavuot. So those are those 5. And we are thus at Tu B'Shvat, the holiday, literally the 15th of the month of Shvat. As we mentioned, the tree is coming back, and therefore we're going to mention a bit of an interesting insight, how to relate to if there's a possibility of the tree of life, the famous tree of life from the Torah. Is it possible? And under which guidelines or circumstances can we bring that tree of life as a rebirth into our lives in a distant land of 2015, 5775? This is the kind of thing we haven't. I mean, what is the tree of life really? I don't think anybody's ever taken that seriously since the time of Adam. And that's the point. I think it's about time that we get into the tree of life as a real thing. Right? We have the mythology, we have the legends, we have the psychoses, all the things that revolve around, tree of life mentality. We have the restaurant, the Kikar in Sfat, right? For those that for Sfat local. But the bottom line is, when's the last time you ever thought about the tree of life really coming into your life? Right? And don't tell me, it's the Kabbalah, it's the Sfirot, it's the this chart, this diagram. I'm saying wake up in the morning and really live the tree of life. And I hope by the end of this class today, you will have understood what it is to live according to the tree of life. And God willing, I think we're going to accomplish that. It's a pretty bombastic thing to say, I think, that you can attempt to say you've mastered at least finding the tree of life and eating from it. But I'm going to go on record and say that. Right? This class, we're going to take the fruit of the tree of life and eat it, and continue to eat it and enter the Gan Eden. And this is where we're going to go. And the other sticking point, there's 3 sticking points here. What is the tree of life? That's the big question. But an even bigger question is, when you look in the Torah itself, you'll see there's no tree of life. It says derech etz chaim, right? There's a path or a way of the tree of life. So that's the second sticking point that I always run into, right? What is the derech? What is the way? We say that in Torah you should have a derech. You should have a way of learning Torah, a way of serving God. Don't just be a puddle of water without form or vessel. Right? How are you doing it? So we know just from the simple grammar in the Hebrew, there's a derech etz chaim, a path of the tree of life. And when Adam and Eve are banished from the Garden of Eden, right, they're going to be banished, and in place of the entrance of the Garden of Eden, we're going to find the 2 cheruvim, angelic kind of entities guarding the way back, and the flame of the sword that turns. Now that one has always got me thinking, what in the world is the flame of the sword that turns? And I want to just read that verse to you, and we'll focus off of that. So if you're following along at home, chapter 3 in Genesis, verses 23 and 24. So Hashem, God, banished him from the Garden of Eden to work the soil from which he was taken. And having driven out the man, he stationed at the east of the Garden of Eden the cheruvim and the flame of the ever-turning sword to guard the way to the tree of life. And anyone that knows me knows I prefer the Hebrew. Let's focus on 24. Vayigarish es ha'adam vayishkim mikedem legan Eden es ha'kruvim es lahat ha'cherev hamis apeches v'shmor es derech eitz ha'chayim. Right? And he banished the man, blah, 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 paraphrase. He placed the kruvim, the angelic whatever. We're not going to focus on what the kruvim are. Many allegorical and many other ways of learning it. But the es lahat ha'cherev hamis hapeches, the flame of the sword that turns, to guard es derech eitz ha'chayim. To guard es derech eitz ha'chayim, the path of the tree of life. Okay, that's the basis of the class. Obviously, trees that we've had no relationship to in probably 5,775 years, right? Except for the Midrash about Shem eating from the tree of life, and the Kabbalah of Elijah when he went to heaven by the whirlwind of fire is brought in the Tanakh. So we've had the mythological, the fantastic, the Kabbalistic. Let's finally enter and eat in the most realistic way possible. So again, Tu B'Shvat is the concept of the new year of the trees. The sap starts to come back through the tree, bringing the tree back to life, and Israel blooms after the winter. The rains have come, and we've seen that, right? We've had some rains this year. The Kinneret, how's the Kinneret doing? Is it there? Is it on its way? We've had a lot of rain this year, thank God. I don't think anyone's mentioned drought, not this year. I haven't seen any warning signs or prayed for rain, so we're doing good. The trees are coming back. The new year, I guess you could say we have a bracha going into this new year, right? The Tu B'Shvat new year. What do you call them? Geshem Klala? What's that?
Zam.
That's the way to say it?
Gishmei Zam.
Gishmei Zam. They say we've not had that, the way it looks like so far, and we're looking at a good Tu B'Shvat. Soon we'll turn the corner to Purim, Pesach, the summertime, Omer, Shavuos, and hopefully we'll be eating on Tisha B'Av this year with the coming of the Messiah. And Beis Hamikdash built, blah, 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 blah. All right, that's the basic idea of the holiday and the trees. Now, what is the tree of life? That's a question we're going to need to address. And I kind of mentioned it in the intro. The Kabbalah is called a tree of life. Beyond that, it's a verse in the Torah that I think it's attractive to everybody, but nobody's really, seriously attempted to have eaten from the tree of life. It's I think every Baal Tshuva has a bit of nourishkeit, right? My nourishkeit was when I became religious, I got stuck on the Adam and Eve story. A lot of my inspiration of coming to Torah at my early 20s was because I fell in love with Bereshis. I thought, only God could write this book as it starts Bereshit Bar Elokim. Right? In my search for truth, everybody always wanted to start it with, look at me, look what I did, my guy, his guy. Finally, a book said what God did in a way you wouldn't think to open the book. Here's how God created the universe. Well, okay, that's interesting. And you get on to Adam and Eve, and I always thought Adam and Eve was Christian. I didn't know Jews even believed in Adam and Eve. And growing up in Dayton, Ohio, Adam and Eve was the most Christian thing I've ever heard. And Torah was Abraham was the first Jew. That's all I ever learned in Hebrew school. So when I opened it up, I got, just so you can see, this was the first book I ever bought in Judaism. And I said to my roommate at the time, this is going to be the book by my side forever. I don't ever want to buy anything not Jewish again. And true to my word, book's still with me. So as I got to learning with it, I was learning in a outreach organization in Cleveland, Ohio, offshoot of Telus Yeshiva, and we got to Adam and Eve, and I was dumbfounded. Jews believe in Adam and Eve. That was a shock. So we do, and I learned it, and I found that, I mean, everybody has their own personal tshuva story, you know, their God moment, their divine moment, or revelation moment of when you see something a bit beyond this world. Maybe that's what the Kruvim are, actually. You know, that revelation of something a little bit more than mundane. I guess semi-divine, as they often translate the Kruvim as. So I found that in Adam and Eve, it was just a compelling story. I tried to superimpose my life on their story, kind of, you know, as a quintessential repair story, right? That was just how I took to it, you know, untrained and not no knowledge whatsoever, and it made sense. It came out very positive. I had a great experience, you know, spiritually at that time, and obviously the big question was, no, so what is the tree of life, right? What is it? What's going on with Adam and Eve? I mean, that was been the focus of my studies now for over 15 years. And the gematria even of repair of Adam, right? Tikkun Adam is the gematria Torah, 611. So there's a lot there. I mean, it's the repair of man. It's the universal message. It's a lot of things. And again, the hardest part to really make sense out of is what is the tree of life, right? Are you going to get allegorical and say it's Kabbalah? Are you going to get allegorical and say it's this and that? The Talmud says it's wheat, right? We say it's an apple tree in the myth. There's a lot of opinion. Some say it's an ethro tree, like for the fruit of Sukkot. So the Gemara has its entertaining ideas, and I think we're all trying to entertain that story. You know, finding the Gan Eden, eating of the tree of life. The Midrash says that Shem, the son of Noah, he ate from the tree of life. That's why he became Melchizedek. So really great stuff has come out of just the fascination. You know, much like the Ark of the Covenant type of level. You know, it's not meant to be, you know, I am finding Gan Eden, so to speak, like the lost tribes of Israel, but more of a personal quest, you know, like a vision quest. You know, am I going to find, you know, the essence of spirituality in this world? I mean, that's something that I think I was interested in and still am interested in. And God willing, at the end of this class, hopefully we can all get there together. And I mean that. The tree of knowledge, on the other hand, right? Eve and Adam, the snake, and all of those stories and episodes from the Garden of Eden tales, right? Stay away from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. For the day you eat of it, you will die. Right? So we all know that story. And that's the background of Tu B'Shvat and the tree of life, tree of knowledge of good and evil. Now I want to say that there's the idea of Pshuto and Pshat, which we've covered before, right? That Pshuto is rabbinic reality versus Pshat, which is reality. And there's a place for rabbinic reality. Just the way that the Torah views reality. You know, it's not to say that it's anti-reality. It just means that the rabbis have a midrashic view of the universe. And maybe the goal is not to always imply reality. Right? If you're going to ask how tall is Og, and you say like 300 amas tall or whatever they say, right? We know that this is not meant to be a realistic view of the universe, but there's a deeper and most probable Kabbalistic message coming through. The Pshat, on the other hand, is something, you know, to live by. You know, where is the city of Hebron in the Torah? Right? We need a Pshat answer for that. We don't want to hear about the Yerushalayim Shalmala. It's interesting and Kabbalistic, but sometimes you need Pshat and sometimes you need Pshuto. So the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil, we've dealt with the Pshuto since the beginning of time. You know, is it the Esro tree because the bark of the esrog tree tastes like the fruit, and the curse of the tree. So there's a reason to go pshuto. In the pshuto world, it's interesting, and I think the Torah until now has been pshuto. Very rarely do we delve into pshat. And people think that Rashi is pshat, but he in fact is not. He is coming from pshuto, which I give a class on that, and you can find that class on the various links. So again, when dealing with the tree of life, I'm saying let's make an attempt to get there and understand it, not lefi pshuto. And let's try to say, is there a way that you can eat of the tree of life in the pshat? Right? We say no verse in the Torah goes out without having remedied the pshat situation. You can't rely only on pshuto. To say, for example, in the Ger Torah, Ger doesn't exist today until Yovel, that is pshuto, right? That is a chazal reality, when today any non-Jew keeping the 7 laws of Noah is a ger lefi pshat. Pshuto would say it's a ger toshav, it's a ger tzedek, it's a ger this, toshav, yovel. The point is 7 laws equals pshat, end of quote. And again, there's a place for pshuto, there's a place for pshat. That's not the scope of the discussion at this time. And then if we say, what if Rabbi Katz finds the pshat to the tree of life? Does that mean he owns the rights to the tree of life and he runs some kind of cult out of Sfat about, come eat from the tree of life? No, because in the Ger Torah there's something also called riboy and miut. Machlokis, argument amongst the rabbis, emphasizes miut. I'm right and you're wrong. Right? There's this opinion and not that one. When in truth, and the Ger discussion really opens this up, it's all really riboy. Right? If I tell you the tree of life is an apple tree, and you have a whole view of the universe that it is a wheat grain, right? Am I right and you're wrong, or vice versa? Or do we look at it as allegorically, right? We can take my fruit apple tree example to heart, and you can take the wheat and take it to heart. We can even have a discussion about how eating the fruit is like wheat, baking bread, and dough, and flour, and it's like derech eretz and working the world, and I think that's, the tree of life to me, and I say it's like the apple, and the apple day keeps the doctor away, whatever you want to say along those lines. And if we work it out, we can really begin to see that we're really kind of saying the same thing, right? If we don't get bogged down by egos, I'm right and you're wrong. So whenever dealing with pshat, it never is meant to become the dogma. It's never meant to become that, this is, I have the truth and ownership of the truth and everybody else is wrong. By the very words of King Solomon in Mishlei, Proverbs, that is antithetical to wisdom by nature. King Solomon says, when you get wisdom coming down, you never get the whole wisdom. You go out and you tell somebody in the Midrachov, in Sfat, hey, did you hear about blah, blah, blah? And they'll say, hey, that's interesting. Yeah, then they'll reciprocate and they'll give you a bit of their wisdom and their spark. And by divine providence, mazal, you will then receive the wisdom from that person that you needed to complete your saga in this little story, and you went and you were full circle and you got a complete idea of wisdom. So every truth, every pshat, every my angle, when you share it, you will receive the missing components to a bigger picture. So this is not meant to be the exclusive rights of the tree of life. My hopes and endeavors are to begin to at least discuss the tree of life. Right? When's the last time we even discussed it on a serious level? And I think we can. I think we should. It's part of Torah. The Torah is meant to be taken true from cover to cover, not as something to say that it's not on our level. It used to be. It's not going to be. It's the part we don't learn. Generally, Jewish people need to get into the habit of learning before Lech Lecha, which is really the Ger kind of universe. The idea of that before Abraham, the world had Gerim in it. Spirituality was the way of life for some, and that way of life is the tree of life. And we know that Shem, son of Noah, ate from it. Whether the midrash is allegorical and and stays there, or was the tree of life their inspiration of connecting to God that eventually led to an Abraham. So that's our introduction. Sound good so far? The Torah started in the book of Bereshit, Genesis, in the Garden of Eden, and there was a man and a woman there. Maybe you remember who they are. Adam and Eve, Adam v'Chava. And I want to say, Adam is just, the guy. I think that's how we perceive Adam, right? He's the guy that messed up. And Eve was, the wife that messed up. But literally they're translated, Adam is man, and Eve, Chava, is the mother of all living. And I think, look, this is pretty obvious. Religion pretty much takes them out of context. The men are dominant, women are submissive, women are not on the level of men. And then, then you have like on the flip side of you, really it's the sacred feminine, and men are the idiots, and we're the servants, and whatever nourishkeit you want to put in there. But the idea is that when we look at Adam and Eve, we're looking at it from the Havamina. Havamina in yeshivish jargon means the I would have thought. So whenever I use the word Havamina, try to keep up with that word. It means I would have thought, right? I would have thought that Adam messed up, and therefore only Adam is relevant to the sin. That's by Havamina. Then we find out, so Eve has a place in repair too. Right? So now I understand the truth, and you pushed off my Havamina. I thought it was only Adam. Then you would actually say Kamash Malan, which means we hear out that Eve and Adam have a place in repair. So the point is that when we look at Adam and Eve, we have a lot of Havaminas about who they are, what they were, their limitations, greatness, would have, should have, could have been in the Garden of Eden. I think one of the most general views that can come out from Adam and Eve, even on a low level, a level kind of devoid of much wisdom, is what is the role in Torah according to mitzvot of Adam and Eve. So Adam, the guy, let's just call it the Jewish guy, right? Because until now, the Torah was looked at as an exclusively Jewish story. We know that it's universal, and the class, God willing, will end on a universal message. But let's look at the kind of the limited view. Adam's the one who's going to go out and pray and work and set up Torah learning and community. And the women are they're going to stay home and cook and clean and take care of the kids, run the home, and at best beautify the home. I'm aware that is a nasty thing to say. It's not the truth, but that's how it's been looked at really till the modern times. You'll say that Abraham and Sarah broke that mold, that Sarah was more respected, and and it was a higher prophet than Abraham. Aware of that too. But just to kind of keep it really base and simple, the worldview, at least of the religious man and woman, maybe we could even call it the pshuto man and woman. And I want to bring an example of male-female views of keeping the mitzvot, for better and for worse, in light of the laws of Shabbos. There's a law in Shabbos, as my Chavrus and I learned this week, Ira Michelson, that you cannot launder a garment on Shabbos. And folding a garment may come to bring you to launder. That's not easy to do. So how do you achieve this? How do you come to launder a garment? If your shirt is so nasty that by folding it you actually chip away at the filth, right? We don't want you folding your shirt so that you'll come to do what's called malabin, to whiten or launder the shirt. Then the authorities of law say, but if you have a new shirt, you really don't come to the same type of fear of whitening. The philosophical view that I want to walk away with here is, until now in the masculine universe, we would say, okay, so I'll wear my shirt, and granted it's nasty, and as long as I don't fold it, I won't whiten my shirt on Shabbos. But that approach, you have forgotten the entire rule of creation here. You're supposed to have a shirt clean and somewhat new to honor the Shabbos. Shabbat is pretty much encapsulated under two words in Hebrew, kavod Shabbos. Honoring Shabbos, the delight of Shabbos. And how you choose to fulfill that statute is your own personal relationship with God. If you want to have a holy shirt, and I'm not talking the sanctified holy, on Shabbos, you just might not be doing the greatest job of honoring the Shabbos. The guy that understands to have a brand new shirt or a semi-new shirt, well laundered, great shirt, he is not going to come to the fear of having to launder his shirt. Now, most people are not taking that law to say, hey, you know what? Maybe I should go out and get a new shirt. Right? Do you do that? Every week say, hey, I should go get a new shirt. We say, okay, look, it's not so bad. So as long as I don't fold it, I'm okay. Let's call that the masculine view of the universe. And I think that the roles of masculine and feminine in the house operate along these lines, right? We'll keep the tablecloth until it's so bad, and we'll get a new one, right? As long as we don't come to the forbidden nature of the tablecloth on the Shabbos, let's say cutting it to size or whatever, as long as I don't do that. And the role of the female is always to beautify the mitzvah. Right? You have to think ahead, honey, shouldn't we have a new tablecloth this week? This one has seen better days. And so you have this kind of female approach to the mitzvahs in the household and the male approach. And the job is for women to receive wisdom from the man and his view of the universe, and the man should gain the understanding and female wisdom from his wife and incorporate that into the way he views the mitzvot. So the women really need to see that even what she does naturally, there's a tremendous depth involved. It's not just instincts. And the man needs to realize that he has absolutely no depth whatsoever in keeping a raggedy shirt and a nasty tablecloth around. He needs to realize that beautifying the mitzvah is a way of life. And that's where we're going to really get into this class. The female and masculine ways of fulfilling the Torah and the mitzvot. In a way that we're going to elevate our stature of Adam and Eve. Right? As we said, Adam and Eve until now are just some guy and some girl, some woman. They sinned. Go cook me dinner, don't act like an animal, right? They happen to get along, and it's not such a great love affair, and this is the world we know. For better or for worse, okay, there's examples either way. But according to Lefi Pshuto, religiously, male, female is to be desired. It definitely needs repaired thought, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And we see that in the dating crises of the world, they say there's a gender war, right? That nobody wants to go out anymore because all communications have broken down on really core issues of living in a sanctified way. Okay, now let's understand the man in a very defined and definitive framework. A man has tools. Watch the Super Bowl and it'll be like, hey, buy my product. He has a big wrench in his hand. His name's Bob. Bob likes wrenches. Bob works on the sink. Bob's a mechanic. Bob likes grease in his fingernails. And that's like the exploitation that they put on men. Right? We are overgrown monkeys with tools for the sake of having more tools. And that's how they are perceived. What the interesting thing is that when the man incorporates women understanding into his being, the revelation of the woman is that she is no different than him. Right? The Torah calls her Adam just as much as he is called Adam. And the thing is that as much as our guy is a pshat guy, he literally has a tool in his hand called a wrench and a screwdriver, right? And he's fixing stuff around the house. The woman also is a master toolswoman, tool person. But we're going to go with the pshuto, the allegorical fulfillment of her tools. Even though she might have a wrench and a hammer, just like the man, which a lot of women do, but we're going to take it to another gear. An example of the allegorical tool of a woman. Every guy knows, when it comes to showering, right? The guy has the towel that remains his drying off towel in the shower. He could go towards 6 months without washing that towel. Agreed? He says, if I took a shower, I'm clean, and there's no need to wash that towel. And he will continue drying himself, rationalizing that he does not need to wash that towel. Do not be ridiculous. He may even try to set a personal record of continued time without dirtying that towel so as to not wash that towel. We all know man in this way. The mikveh is another story. That's like legendary. They may go years without washing those towels. The women will wash the towel every time. And we say, how in the world do you rationalize washing a clean towel time and time again? She would say, maybe not literally, but the mind of Bina, understanding, says, this is my tool. Right? So when I launder the towel, I have sharpened my tools. And the woman has the view of the entire house is an opportunity of this kind of towel sharpening idea. Call it the oven, call it soap, call it the floor, call it clothes, call it educating children, call it nurturing, call it understanding, even call it her hammer. Right? You have the hammer that you bought in particular situations that you never use. She buys a hammer to use it. You say, what are you doing? She says, I'm using my hammer. Right? We all know the gender kind of cliche. Now let's bring it to focus. What exactly am I talking about? I don't know. Right? I know at this point it's vague, ambiguous. Let's bring it into focus. Now, at this point, I'm going to tell a true story, basically to the end of this class. This is a true story, and it's in real time, up to this very day. The story goes like this. I, like you, have knives in my kitchen. Right? basic knife, went to the store, it's big, it has a big plastic grip, it has teeth on it, and that tells me, David Katz, you have a really sharp knife. How can it not be sharp? It has teeth, and I grind it, and when I cut the tomato, I'm hacking at it, and I get a cut tomato, and it's awesome. That's what I think. But it doesn't cut so good, so then I buy a little tiny knife with a razor, but it's little. I gotta, hack away real small. And I'd like to go on a diet. I love salad. I've been eating salad as a preference my whole life. The only problem is, how in the world do you make salad? Now you go to the restaurant in Israel, it's Greg's, and they have an immaculate Israeli salad. And I'm saying, this is fantastic. Why can't I eat like this at home? So I tried. And I'm saying, I'm hacking at the tomato. My hand hurts. It's just not working out for me. I paid a guy to make salad. Too expensive. Didn't work out. Wasn't right. I don't know what to do. So then I bought a chopper. Right? It's like a machine. Half a tomato. Put the tomato in. Slam it down as hard as you can. Otherwise, you splatter the tomato everywhere. And you get chunks for a salad, and the cucumber, and the onions, and I'm happy, and I'm ready to go. I'm loving it. Bring on the diet. Only problem is the chunks were chewy, crunchy. It was like generic. It was not, something wasn't right here. Right? If this is called eating healthy, I'm not interested, and I'm definitely missing something to this equation. But since I was interested in eating Israeli salad, and I finally learned the dressing with the olive oil, the pepper, I now keep a bottle of olive oil in my stock of condiments. The major change happens when I go to the grocery store, and people have been telling me about a concept, just in discussion, about a sharp knife. Now, I thought I have a sharp knife. It has the teeth, all these things, it's serrated. But there's another concept called a real professional sharp knife. So I attempt to do it. It was on sale. Nice expensive chef knife. I bought it. And I come home. I don't know what I'm thinking I already have a whole cupboard full of sharp knives. I really don't need this knife. But I sit down, and I'm going to make myself a salad. Just got, the tomatoes and cucumbers out. I take one swipe at that tomato. What do you think happened? All of a sudden, I feel like I'm in a factory in America, like, doom, doom, doom. It's an assembly line. I said, whoa! This thing cut like a machine. I don't have to grip it hard. It's like, it was like warm butter. And it was amazing to me. I was saying, good Lord, who knew? There really is something called a sharp knife. Effortless. All of a sudden, I have a mountain of a salad. And I said, is that why American goods are so good? Because they understand the sharp knife and keeping the knife sharp? Because I'll tell you what, that tomato I cut versus the mauling I did with my other knife, superior product a billion times over. Then I'm thinking, what if I were to keep the knife sharp all the time? You would have a factory, an assembly line, American goods. And I think that's the secret. Adam, you like this, Asa was given a bracha to live by the sword. And I'm thinking that's the sword. Yitzchak loves Asa because hunting game was in his mouth. He's saying, go cook me a proper bina meal, which we'll explain as we go on. Okay, so the story stops there. There's a concept of a sharp knife. That's all. That's it. The woman understands a grimy towel for getting out of the shower. That is not called a sharp knife. Sharp knife is called a brisk, starchy, prickly, white, fresh laundered towel. You just got clean in the shower. You come out and you dry with a clean towel. That's called, your favorite word, a mechaya. You don't want to go with a grimy towel after you just got done getting showered. When you go to sleep at night, don't have the sheets off the bed because you're too tired to change the sheets, a dirty sheet. Put a clean sheet on your bed. And you slide. It's like literally when you turn over, it's like, it's like a whole different story. Every bacher, every single guy, dreads, I have to do that? One guy I saw on Facebook says, you won't believe what happens when you iron your pillows or your pillowcase. The female tool is keeping the tools sharp and using them. Whether it's making the bed, cleaning the floor, using plates instead of plastic plates, the sharp knife is everywhere in your life. And that was as far as I got. And I'm saying, okay, it's like, learning Torah, you have to have a sharp knife, right? Have a good book, clear print, learn it well, sharpen your mind. I tell a joke, don't just say, the guy and the thing, the thing. Well, so is, the guy went. Don't do that. Sharp knife, right? Don't do a Mickey Mouse job. Don't put the thing up and then halfway screw in the screw, right? Do it right. Use the tools right and your life will improve. But it was only a half idea, right? I was getting there and I see it's going somewhere, but it's like, what's the tachlis? What do you do with this sharp knife thing? You can't walk around all the time saying, hey, Bob, you got a sharp knife? Let me tell you about the wisdom of a sharp knife. It doesn't do anything. Then it all changed a couple days ago. We're back at Super Sol Deal, back at the knife section, and I've been eyeballing this other knife for a long time since I got that other knife. Now, my knife was like this long, narrow, kind of chef knife, and I like it, as I said. But this other one was like, not a butcher knife, but not a chef knife. It had divots in it and stuff and this and pizzazz. And I said, I have to have you. And I even bought the the sword thing for sharpening. What do you call it? Sharpening the knife. And now I say, this new guy, I have to have you. I don't know why, but wisdom says it's a match made in heaven. So I buy the knife, and it's on sale. Bring it home. As I said, my chavrusa Ira's helping me. We're talking about the knives. Ira's a chef, and he says this is some kind of, I forget the name of it, a Japanese knife known for cutting vegetables in a professional way. I said, that's it. That's what I wanted, a professional vegetable cutting knife for my salads. So he leaves. The kids are asleep, and I'm getting ready. I'm going to make a sandwich. My famous Italian sub, vegetables, right? Me and my tomato are going to go to war again, right? I'm going to break my knuckles on this thing. And then the miracle happens. The knife cuts through the tomato to the point where I've never seen this in my life. It's as if the tomato, it's all like in the science, right? The juices of the tomato are contained in the cut parts, almost like a bubble wrap of the juice and the tomato together, as if I elevated a tomato, but the slice of a tomato, to something a bit more spiritual, divine than just a slice of tomato. And I don't know what's going on. I make the sandwich. Remember the olive oil? I put a little bit of olive oil. I never do that. And I used to buy really junk oil. And it comes together, and I bought the really good bread. I love these buns. And the sandwich is exquisite. Literally a divine experience. I think it was like when Morpheus said to Neo in The Matrix, Neo says, why do my eyes hurt? Morpheus says, because you've never used them before. I realized last night David Katz has never eaten food in his life. I have to say that today we don't have food. We have like food. Corn schnitzels, McDonald's, falafel. It's like food today. But my friends, today is not food. When you go to a restaurant, you're not getting food. Right? You're getting the high school kids putting sugar and salt and fat in the food that you think is food, and it isn't. Real food, and I'm going to tell you what real food is the sharp knife. You sit down like a mensch. Eventually you'll be making a bracha on the food, saying simply, what is this? In your mind, and then answering it, shakol, brei priya, it's brei priya. The point is like this. They say that sushi is not worth anything unless it's really fresh. And when you have like hair issues, you can damage hair by the follicle, right? Real damage, or cuticles, right? On the micro level is where the real life is. You taught me that wherever the Jews made, the smaller the inyan, the bigger the fuss. Because that's the backside to a really huge truthism called the tree of life. If you could contain the life force of a tomato in every slice, because you can't eat a sandwich with a big round tomato, right? No one does that. You can't eat like a big ball of onion and tomato and a head of lettuce between 2 slices of bread. I don't think that's going to work out for you. Maybe you can. I don't think so. So you need to cut it down. But how do I cut it down that I'm doing something real? I don't want a dead slice of tomato anymore and a dead slice of onion, and I'm eating thinking, when's the next meal already? It's like food. And that's when it occurred to me what happened. With a proper tool and craftsmanship, you elevate the bria. Women are not simply physical beings. They are beautifying life, the house, everything. The idea is that when you eat the tomato slice with everything, it's not even like you say, this that goes here. It's just, it's a thing. It's the mazel of the moment. The butcher doesn't have to think where he's cutting between the joints. He just does it. He knows it. Right? The real craftsmanship doesn't need to be explained. Well, I cut it here and the juice was contained. And the scientific theory does not need to enter. You just do it, and it is life force. When you analyze your innards, you say, in my body, my DNA, my anatomy, that is the tree of knowledge of good and evil. What's inside your body? A soul. You cut the food so it contains the soul. And you eat the soul, the neshama is in the food. Now you make a bracha that matters. So then my kids came home from lunch today. And I was saying, let's do it again. I made them a salad after I made a salad in the morning for protein. Again, a divine salad. What happened different? I sat down, I relaxed, took out the cutting board, I cut like a mensch each time, and it changed the reality of the food. Why does Shabbos food taste better? Because of a miracle, a magic? Maybe yes. But really, you're the agency of mazel, because on Erev Shabbos, what are you doing? You're sitting down and you're cutting with a good knife and your good food and you're preparing it. That's the neshama you put in. It tastes better because you really made it better. So the kids came home, and I did not use the traditional disposable plastic bowls. I thought, my mother taught me, put out a regular bowl, put out a nice bowl for the kids. Each one of them had a bowl waiting for them, with a spoon and the salad inside. Now again, I'm like an altar bacher taking care of these kids, and usually it's like, man style. My wrench, my salad's like a wrench. And my daughter comes home and looks and she says, Abba, in her kid kind of Hebrew language, but I got the point. She says, in paraphrase, that was an amazing salad. And I'm saying that the kids are picking up on this. And anyone that has kids knows they pick up on that stuff. It's like, it's like Abba, the big gruff, wrench-bearing man ogre of the house, became almost like Ima. Like that soft, nurturing, caressing Ima in the kitchen, making this thing. And then my son comes home. He can't get enough. He says, I have to have the whole thing. I said, no, you can't have it all now. He says, but can we do this every day? And I'm saying, yeah, I think we can. I think I want to take a break from my work, turn off the internet, turn off the Torah and the books, sit down, go into mom mode, and use the knife and put the neshama into these kids' lives, in their food, in the vessels, and that is the knife mentality. Right? It's saying, why do we use real dishes when it's easier to throw away plastic? The answer is because you should dirty up the dishes so that where you have to do the dishes. You say, but I don't want to do the dishes. You say, but if I don't do the dishes, who's going to use the dish soap? You cannot have 6-month-old dish soap hanging around your kitchen. Otherwise, it's going to be a personal record. 3 years still using the same same soap. And you say, but if I use the dishes and they crack, then what am I going to do? Buy new dishes? Yes. You want the dishes to crack and fall when kids break them, and not to yell at them to say, thank God you broke the dish. Now we get to go on a tiyul, to Tel Aviv, to a fair, to a market, and buy new dishes. And you say, but we don't have money for that. You say, yes, we do. That's called shefa. God understands that dishes break. Just because you're some macho guy on a personal record of 13 years of having never broken the same dish, that's not how the world works according to masculinity. It's a feminine Shechina Shabbos world. Dishes break. Soap gets used. Towels get washed. Food gets cut a certain way. You buy an expensive knife. Break out of your shell. Make your bed. Change your sheets. Buy a new shirt. If you could, every Erev Shabbos, buy a new shirt. That is how you undo the Adam of the Garden of Eden and find the Eve, the mother of all living. Start to live. Why do you make a trip to the Golan Heights looking for random stuff? Because maybe you'll find some Nanach guy that has a bottle of olive oil freshly squeezed. And then you bring it home, you say, thank God, now we have olive oil, a real staple product. Because what was it that allowed me to come to this revelation? Because usually people have a big sticking point. I'm not going to buy some kind of knife. I don't need some sharp knife. I don't need olive oil. I don't need the good bread. I don't have time. I don't care. I don't care. I like fake food. Doesn't matter. But if you get the components to work together, they all like a miraculous dream where the dream makes sense at night. Those dreams that you wake up and say, wow, that was profound. All the pieces made sense. It wasn't the dream where I'm half naked building a go-kart with my ex-landlord. Right? It's the dream. It's like, wow, I was in a temple, that was there, the priest, and it's like one of those. The components, they just, as we said with the tomato, they just come together and work. Why are the Rolling Stones a great rock band? They just come together and work. Mazel, Ashkacha Pratis. The tomato just works. Why does a baby boy in Judaism have a circumcision that is healthy and normal? The knife is a tool that is built to just work. When you implement the tool, it just works. It just does it. It knows what to do. You just have to not mess it up. When you cut the tomato, it just works. When you put oil on a little bit on your food or whatever, it just works. It's the wisdom of the creation. That is the wisdom of the creation. When things just work. The idea then, I realized, the korbanos of the Beis Hamikdash. Right? King David says that animals live to die. Right? No animal ever said, you know what? I want to be the first bear that ascends to heaven like Elijah and never die. The other bear says, well, I think I want to live to like 120. I don't know. I'm okay with dying after 120. No animal ever said that. They live their life, they get their shefa from God, and they die. usually in the mouth of a cheetah, on the side of a road, roadkill, or whatever. Judaism says, what if we were to ritually slaughter with a perfected knife, and ultimately on the altar of the temple, that animal were to no longer go out in the mouth of a cheetah, but on the altar being sacrificed as an exquisite death, whether it's to be eaten or aroma to God. You say, that sounds great in theory, but what in the world is this barbaric thing that you speak of? And I'm saying, hold on. What if a cow is really a tomato? What if the shochet's knife, we know that when you slit the throat, the animal dies immediately, correct? The dam nefesh comes out, and that's the Torah element that has to be achieved for kosher. And we know the cow's going to be eaten. Okay, that's the whole point of the slaughter. It's not just some pagan ritual where we do a seance afterwards. It is a barbecue. It's McDonald's, but better, for gross terms. The idea is that when you shech the cow, right, the tool just works. It's meant for the throat of the animal. It is a wisdom of creation. Whether it's a circumcision tool, whether it's a knife for your tomato, whether it's an axe for breaking wood. Tools have wisdom built in that work. It just comes together, and the neshama is put into the thing. It gets a mechaya. A shechted cow was not perfected until it became shechted. When the blood did its thing and the blood came out, the animal became fit for consumption at that time. It achieved the greatest moment in its death. Which is why meat is allowed to be eaten, all the more so in the temple. Right? In the temple, when you kill the animal, you slaughter it with the knife, by the way, has strict guidelines. The slightest nick on your fingernail, while you check it, is an invalid blade. It is the essence of the sharp knife. It is the mother lode of all sharp knives. And we know by a sharp knife, it just works. Thus, it works with the cow. It becomes the blood inside. Whatever you're doing to it, we don't know. And you're not supposed to know. Just like you don't really know why a tomato tastes better when you cut it right. I don't know. And frankly, I don't want to know. And it's wrong to know. That's already Eitz Hadas Tov V'Ra. Tree of knowledge of good and evil. You're inspecting. It's like Bruce Lee's the master, and you try to emulate the master. You'll never get there. Be the master. Right? You don't have to ask why. Not all the time. Just know God said here, eat this. And this is how you do it. But if you understand the concept of how the knife works, you say, I understand now. That cow became perfected. If you choose to not eat meat, that is your prerogative. But in the base of meat dish, where meat is a constant in the offering, you now know that cow did not end up in the mouth of a cheetah when it went out, which was destined to happen. It went out as a mechaya. And you will be shechted one day as well too. We say the Malach HaMavis, the angel of death, shechs man when he dies. That's a barbaric image. But what if God is the craftsman with the knife in hand, and that when your time comes, you actually get a mechaya to your portion of the world to come, particularly because you died. Right? We think we're going to fall into the abyss. What if death is when all of you just come together and you get the mechaya to go out into your world to come portion? When you get a zetz from God in this world, not death, you say, God, how could you do that to me? What if God is actually the master craftsman and you see it as, why are you cutting me? When it's really a mechaya, it all came together and you are in a higher, more perfected state of existence. That's when I realized it starts with a tomato, and it's ridiculous, and I'm aware of that. But if you have the ability to grow and put a mechaya, a neshama into everything you do, in the nurturing, in the tools, in the staying sharp. I ate food today for the first time in my life. That is a fact. What I was eating before was like food. And I realized that what I ate for the first time was life. That is the derech etz achayim. That is eating of the way of eating of the tree of life. And I am positive, if you have the mazel and bracha and atzlacha and desire and know-how to live a life of that, washing your towels, cleaning your floor, buying a new shirt, not having a personal record to not shower for 600 days in a row, all these things that men do, and the women don't do, but they have an innate ability to do this, and coming together with the wisdom instilled and the behavior to do it, and to travel and to look around for things to bring back to the home in order to create a greater life. That is tree of life. And I assure you, instead of thinking about, is it possible to launder my shirt if I don't fold it, as long as it's not too nasty, as opposed to, if I can actually live enough life, then perhaps I would not die. Maybe enough life means you don't die. Like Eliyahu, who did not die, associated with the tree of life. Shem, what does the Torah say? Lest man take and eat and live forever. The mangled up tomato is the Eitz Hadas Tov Ra, tree of knowledge of good and evil. You care about what's in the inside. That's wrong. Just cut the knife, get just cut the tomato with the right knife. All of a sudden, the tree of knowledge of good and evil became the tree of life. It's a different bria. It's not the same tomato. And I was saying you can physically look at it and it is different. It tastes different. It feels different. It smells different. You have created life. Eve is the mother of all living. The path of the tree of life. And as we said, what makes it tick? The semi-divine experience revolving around the flame of the sword that turns. What I've been tossing with this for so many years, what is this flame of the sword that turns? And I realized as Tu B'Shvat came in, the flame of the sword that turns is the parable of the sharp knife that brings the mechaya to our mundane dead existence and turns it into life. Thus, how do you get back into the Garden of Eden? How do you get the delight? How do you take the honor of Shabbos? How do you not die every day or staying dead? The flame of the sword that turns to take from the tree of life, lest you eat and live forever. And that is my rendition of how you actually can eat from the tree of life in a realistic way, with the pshat, and not some kind of bizarre pagan or ritualistic, kabbalistic, the mochin of Ak. My friends, the tree of life is here. The Torah is true in the pshat. You can have it, you can eat it, you can live it, you cannot die from it. When God said to Adam, do not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, for the day you eat of it you shall die, I believe, maybe it's not the exclusive view, you have your view, but I can assure you what I'm saying, I have lived it, at least for one day, I can say that I lived. And with that, I wish everybody a great Tu B'Shvat with the return of the sap of the trees, and we all merit to eat of the tree of life, not just one day, but as the mushel goes with the knife, keep it sharp. Otherwise, it's not a sharp knife. Keep the trees going, keep the tree of life alive, and you will know what life is, not only as a one-time deal, but for this world and the next. Thank you very much. Have a great Tu B'Shvat. Take care.